Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. There is a very big important update for the beneficial ownership information reporting that is part of the Corporate Transparency Act. We've done a lot of videos recently on the channel about BOI reporting, and I want to tell you what's going on. So I did do a live video on it, but somehow lost that content. So this video is a replacement for that. And that's what we want to go through today. So before we go any further, I want to tell you this is not legal advice. It is not legal advice. I am not a lawyer, but I am going to be explaining some of the things that have happened in recent days in order for you to make the best decision for your business and also for you to take action or non-action, okay? Most importantly, this happened very recently. This video is being recorded on December 4th. As of December 3rd, so a Texas-based federal court issued a preliminary nationwide injunction on the enforcement of anything having to do with the Corporate Transparency Act. Okay, so what does that mean? That sounds like a lot of legal jargon there. So what does an injunction mean? I'm going to read you the definition. An injunction is a judicial order that restrains a person from beginning or continuing an action threatening or invading the legal right of another. So an injunction basically means, hold on, you're not allowed to do that. And what this means in this case is this court has basically issued this injunction saying that the Corporate Transparency Act cannot be enforced, meaning that if somebody does not comply with the Corporate Transparency Act, and part of that is this BOI reporting, that nothing can be done to them. Like, there are no consequences under this current injunction, okay? Now, this is a preliminary injunction, so that doesn't mean that it is, final in any kind of way. It's kind of a hold off for now type of thing legally. Again, I'm trying to bring this into like normal everyday language. I am not a lawyer again. So what this is meaning is it's saying that, there's a possibility and it probably will be appealed, and there will be multiple more court decisions on this, but probably multiple, maybe just one, I don't know. But this could go up to the United States Supreme Court to determine if the Corporate Transparency Act can actually be enforced, and potentially does the Corporate Transparency Act even, can it even be in law? So there's lots more to happen on that side, but what you need to know right now as a small business owner is that the January 1st, 2025 deadline that everybody's been talking about is essentially not important for you at this point in time. So if you've already filed your BOI reporting, then fine, you're compliant, it's all good. This Corporate Transparency Act is still law, but again, there's no penalties at this point, and there's nothing that can happen to you. It can't be enforced. So if you haven't yet filed, you can basically decide for yourself if you want to hold off until we have some more information about what's going to happen with this enforcement and with this injunction. So will it ever become enforceable? Maybe, maybe not. But we don't know that right now. What we do know is that the incoming administration is Republican, and Congress is also majority Republican at this point in time. We do know that Republicans tend to lean against regulation. So will this be a priority of the administration when the new administration comes in? Likely not, but we don't know. So what this is, like, we're at a point in time right now where as a small business owner, you need to decide, is this something that you want to be compliant to the law and you want to, go ahead and do it regardless of what happens and go ahead and submit your report? Totally fine if you want to do that. I've submitted my report for my 2 companies, so there's no harm in going ahead and reporting. And again, we have videos showing you how to do that. On the other side, if you've been resistant already for wanting to do this, and maybe you're like, hey, I don't want to give my information if it's not something that I have to do, then you can hold off, okay? So if for any reason you feel like you don't want to report, there is no penalty right now for not reporting and not being compliant with the Corporate Transparency Act, okay? So that is the key thing I need you guys to know, is that there's really no consequences if you don't do it right now. Now, if you do not, if you do not comply with this, what I would say is you need to stay up to date on whether or not this, like what's happening with the law here. So whether or not this does get potentially like upheld, or if the whole Corporate Transparency Act is, repealed potentially, or potentially amended, you will need to stay up to date with that, because you'll need to know, like, do I need to now do it, or is it totally fine and I never have to worry about it again because it's been repealed? So I would recommend being subscribed to the channel, because if it is something that you have to do, you can bet that I'm going to talk about it. But you can also stay up to date on news, set yourself an alerts, some alerts or anything specifically around this topic. So I will say that there are a couple different ways. I'm going to read an article, and I'll put these articles in the description box below. I'm going to read a couple different things that could happen under the new Trump administration to potentially kill the Corporate Transparency Act, or kill the enforcement of this BOI reporting and the penalties around it. Okay, so I want to read this to you. This is coming from a Forbes article that I listed in the description box below. But this says, a potential Trump administration could take several steps to limit or halt the enforcement of the CTA, which is the Corporate Transparency Act, administratively, should it choose to prioritize deregulation. Probably. First thing is, it could revisiting implementing regulations. The administration could direct the Treasury Department and FinCen to review the implementing regulations of the CTA. Agencies could delay enforcement by revising or repealing these rules, a process that would require notice and comment rulemaking under the Administrative Procedure Act. Second, resource allocation. A new administration could deprioritize enforcement of the CTA by limiting the funding and staffing dedicated to compliance oversight and enforcement. While the act remains on the books, enforcement action could effectively be curtailed. So this is kind of like when the IRS doesn't have enough agents, you're not going to have a lot of audits. So that's what they're saying here, is that they could just not have a lot of resources to put to actually seeing if people are complying with this law. The third thing is policy guidance. Through executive actions or agency memos, the administration could issue guidance limiting the circumstances under which beneficial ownership information is collected or used, effectively narrowing the law's application. So that's always a possibility. And then fourth, legislative collaboration. The administration could work with Congress to repeal or amend the CTA, potentially eliminating or significantly reducing its scope. This would require legislative action, which may depend on the composition of Congress. Okay, so if this did go back to Congress, would it be passed again, or would it be upheld? Would it be repealed? We kind of need to think about what would happen potentially politically there. But overall, this might just not be a priority for the administration going into its new term. So I would say that we can probably all pause on this for the moment. But if you're the type of person that you just want to be compliant and you want to check all the boxes and you want to know that you're covered, go and watch my video that will show you how to do this for yourself, and you will have that taken care of. If you're the type of person that's a little bit more skeptical and you'd like to, hold on to your information as long as you can, and you don't want to give it away without knowing that there's a penalty, then you might want to wait. Or if you're just like, hey, I don't think I need to take action right now, that is completely up to you at this point and your risk tolerance. Okay, so I would say that this is going to be an individual decision. From the guidance, or from a lot of the articles that I've read, the general sense is that we can just hold off if you haven't already filed. Even in this Forbes article, it says for businesses that have not filed with FinCen, you can delay filing. The nationwide injunction means that no business is currently required to comply with the CTA, but further guidance or court decisions could reinstate the act's enforceability. So that's why we're saying, keep your eye out on what's actually happening with this if it were to be reinstated. Okay, so that is the very, very, very important information that I needed to tell you guys about. So hopefully this is helpful to you, and I will to get this information out as quickly as possible. And if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, this is a very good reason why you should be subscribed, so that you can be up to date on information that matters to you in your business. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Put your questions in the comment section below. All right, bye everybody.